Hi everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be profiling a list that won't exactly be legal until after Burst of Destiny is released. So this is going to be a Rokket Dragon deck with a very heavy emphasis on the rockets. Now there are a couple of cards in this list that don't come out until Burst of Destiny as it has some rocket support. I'm not playing too much of the new support, but the deck is really fun and there's a couple of those cards that can do a lot, one in particular that we'll talk about when we get to it. Now at the moment this deck is still, I'm still testing it out. Some of the ratios might not be optimized as of yet, but I've been having a lot of fun playtesting the deck. At times it performs just like a Dragon Link deck, but when you can play the rocket things, it feels really good. So I'm playing 3 Tracer. Obviously it's the best rocket, you kind of always want to see it. Then playing 2 Magna rocket. So in this deck we are utilizing the end phase effects of the rockets a little bit more. So I'm playing a few more of those rockets that do have the end phase effects. Now they're not quite bricks, you can still use them at times, but you don't want too many of them. It's this weird conundrum with this deck where you want to play more rockets because thematically that's what the deck is, but then in hand they're not really that good. I'm playing 1 silver rocket. This is one of the new cards. It's just a proxy at the moment. This is Rocket Caliber. What it does is if you have a dark link monster on the field, you can special summon it to a zone it points to. It's a level 4 dark dragon tuner. And then it has another effect where you contribute it to summon a dark machine or a dark dragon from hand. This is one of the cards I've been umming and ahhing about. It's not the best, but I like that it's a special summonable monster that you can search off something like Absorata or any of the other ways of searching rockets. So that's the main thing. It doesn't come up in the combos as such, but it's an extender that you can use. You don't really need to use the tribute effect. There are certain situations where the tribute effect would come up, and I'll explain where that is in a moment. But otherwise, it's a card you might not need to play. I've thought about playing it as the 3rd Tracer because it is a tuner, so you could play 2 Tracer, 1 Caliber, but I think Tracer's just too good. But you could probably cut the Caliber, I think. I'm playing 1 Recharger, playing 1 Auto Rocket. This is just to cover some spell trap matchups, and I'm playing 1 Anist Rocket, and the last rocket is Rocket Synchron. Rocket Synchron's really good for follow-up on the turn 3. Anist Rocket, Auto Rocket, you could maybe potentially cut the Anist Rocket perhaps as well, but I just wanted to play a few more just so I felt like I was actually playing a rocket deck. Next, I'm playing 3 Absorata Dragon. This could be 2 Absorata Dragon, but I really like to see it. We're typically normal summoning a rocket or the next card that I'm about to show you. And Absorata is generally going to be a free special summon from hand. And there's another target for what we want to send with Dragon Ravine that we search off from Romulus. So we don't necessarily want to have to send Absorata because we'd rather be sending this other target. The next card, this is the reason why I built this deck, just because this card fascinates me, and that's Speed Burst Dragon. Speed Burst Dragon, when it's tribute summoned, adds 2 rocket monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. There are plenty of ways of getting a monster to the field without normal summoning. Dragon Link's one of those decks where you don't always have to normal summon. Any combo starting with Chaos Space means you don't have to tribute. You don't have to normal summon, so you can theoretically tribute the Speed Burst Dragon and add 2 rockets. And then if you obviously get to Boot Sector Launch along the way, which you typically would in something like a Chaos Space combo, then you've already got Boot Sector Launch in hand, and Speed Burst Dragon gives you 2 rockets, which is just 2 more bodies. The other really cool thing about Speed Burst Dragon is you can tribute over Hieratic Seal. And if you tribute over Hieratic Seal, you get to special summon any dragon from deck. So this was the main theory behind the way I've built this deck is I want to get to Hieratic Seal without normal summoning and then tribute over it for Speed Burst Dragon. The Hieratic Seal will then summon the next card which I'm about to show, which is also the second target for Dragon Ravine, or the main target. This is a new card in Burst of Destiny. It's a Dualwiel Dragon. What it does, well, it's a level 8 Dark Dragon with 2500 attack. But what it does is you contribute it off the field to Monster Reborn 2 rockets from the graveyard. And then when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it from the graveyard to add Rapid Trigger or Heavy Trigger. Now, Heavy Trigger is a new card in Burst of Destiny. It's a ritual spell to summon the ritual monster. And Rapid Trigger is the one that was released in the structure deck, which is the fusion spell, which is our target in this deck because the ritual package is not something that we're playing. It would take too many spots. It's not worth running. So Dualwiel Dragon is really good. It's another soul charge essentially for the deck. Between Boot Sector Launch, Dual Wheel, Quad Barrel, there's so many ways of now just putting more rockets onto the field from grave and recycling the ones you've got. And then being able to search Rapid Trigger is awesome because Rapid Trigger will pop 2 rockets off the field or any 2 Dark Dragons. It's going to put a disruption on the field in the form of Furious, but then also the rockets will get their end phase effects when they're popped. So the Dualwiel Dragon really kind of brings it together from what I've noticed in testing. The last couple of cards, we've got Black Metal, Collop Serpent, Wyver Burster, and Black Metal to round out the monsters. There are some hand traps as well in the deck, but this is the end of the monsters for the engine. And these are just 4 good dragons. I'm not playing Brotor, not playing Levy. I kind of had to make allowances, had to make cuts. Like I've mentioned before, you could probably cut something like the Caliber and one of the Auto Rocket or Anis Rocket to fit in Omni and Brotor. Brotor and Levy if you wanted to. But this is just personal preference at the moment. This is just in the testing phase. The Black Metal is really good because with 1-for-1, that's just another way of getting to Hieratic Seal without normal summoning, if it's through 1-for-1. And then playing Quick Launch, Chaos Space. Obviously these cards are insane. And then playing 2 Guard Dragon. Again, I had to make cuts, so I've gone just for 2 Guard Dragon. Again, the theory being, let's get to Seal before we normal summon. Guard Dragon doesn't really get us there. It gets us there obviously with Quick Launch, but it's a little bit more specific. Playing 1 boot, it should be 2. 2 would be more correct, I think. However, the second one can only really be searched out if you are able to put back Striker Dragon off something like Chaos Space, which doesn't always happen either. So I've cut it to 1 for now. It's a card, it's probably the card that I would try and get to 2. It might be my next priority over something like Brotor and Levy. I'm getting Sector to 2. But again, it requires a couple of extra steps just to even make the second one searchable. The Dragon Ravine, Rapid Trigger, and 1-for-1 to round out the spells. They're all fairly self-explanatory. I'll quickly show you Rapid Trigger. What it does is it fusion summons a fusion monster from the extra deck by destroying the materials on the field. It can only attack monsters special summoned from the extra deck, and it's unaffected by activated effects from any other monster special summoned from the extra deck. But really what we're doing is just popping 2 rockets or 2 Dark Dragons to summon out the Furious, and the Furious is good in itself because it's a disruption on the field, but it also provides follow-up on the next turn. This could be any hand trap. I've just filled it with 7 spots. I've just gone with Nibiru and Gamma just because I feel like they're high impact hand traps in combination with each other. Nibiru and Gamma are really good. The other thing that these cards are is obviously light attribute. Now this variant does not have light attribute monsters in it anywhere except for the Wyver Burster. So if you open black with no way of with obviously none of these hand traps, then the black is just going to be a dead card unless you can get to white somehow. So the hand traps being light is relevant because you can pitch them off with something like Chaos Space as well. Okay, for the extra deck, we are playing one Dualwiel Dragon. Now this should be or will be a Borrel End Dragon when that card exists in the TCG. At the moment it doesn't, so we'll play Dualwiel, but Borrel End Dragon is just a lot better, and you can make it in pretty much all of the same situations where you can make a Dualwiel in this deck, because typically if I'm making Dualwiel, it's when I'm using a quad Borrel, a Delindrus, and one other monster, which is still 5 monsters worth of materials, so I could still summon a Borrel End in all of those situations. So when that card is legal, that's what Dualwiel would become. But I figured, again, it's a Rokket deck, we should be playing a Dualwiel somewhere in there. Borrel Sword Dragon, this is just for closing our games, of course. Abomination is the one you're typically making turn 1, though if you have the materials when Borrel End Dragon comes out, you should just be making Borrel End, because it's better. Abomination's good, obviously it targets your Rockets to trigger their effects to pop themselves and get their extra effects. But Abomination requires just a little bit more setup because you need to fulfill certain circumstances. I find that even in this build, if I can use the 5 materials to make Dualwiel Dragon, I'd rather make Dualwiel than Unchained, simply because the Dualwiel gives me more control over my Rockets. The downside though is Abomination lets you pop more things. So against a back row matchup, which I've tested against, the Abomination would have come up more to help pop the back row. This is a flex spot. I've just thrown in a Trisbana just as something that can handle back row. And it's a topologic card, it fits in theme. Probably the best card in the extra deck is Quad Dualwiel Dragon. We're playing a lot of Rockets, so having a monster reborn for a lot of Rockets feels really good. Playing one Hieratic Seal. If we see Speed Burst in our opening hand, Hieratic Seal becomes part of the combo, but otherwise it's something we're trying to end on. I was originally playing 2, but I figured if we're already... only 1 is really necessary. Romulus. Hulk, this is not part of any combo, it's just an extender that you can make fairly easily. If you need it, you need it. It's more, I guess, for those situations where you get hand trapped. There's plenty of targets you can summon off the Hulk. Delindrus, Striker, and Pisty. These are all fairly self-explanatory in a Rokket version of Dragon Link. 1 Savage, 1 Chaos Ruler, and the last card in the extra deck is the Furious Dragon. So Furious Dragon, if you don't know, takes 2 Dark Dragons, and it has a quick effect to target a monster you control and a card your opponent controls, destroy them, and then you can banish this card from your graveyard, target a Dark Link monster in your grave and special summon it, but it cannot activate its effects this turn. So Furious is really good just for putting more bodies on the field on the follow-up. So going into turn 3, Furious gives you some more plays, and it's a big monster that has a good disruption effect. Typically what we're going for in terms of an end board is the 3 Borrels, Furious, Savage, Load, with 1 to 2 Rockets still on field. Sometimes it could be a Spheres as well. Sometimes we don't get to depending on the hand, you might not get to the Link 4, Abomination or Dualwiel, but you can end on Seal, Savage, Furious, which is still respectable. All right, I will now show you I'll show you one combo and then we might do a test hand. Okay, the combo I want to show you is a combo you can pull off with Speed Burst Dragon, because obviously this is one of the cards that is not typically played in a Dragon Link deck, just to show you kind of what it can pull off. So for this, we're going to need a Speed Burst, Chaos Space, and any way of triggering the Chaos Space or a card that we can pay as the cost. So we need 1 of the Gammas. I've just put the other 2 there just so that we've got other discards if we need them. I don't think we really do, but I will play this out. So we're going to start with Chaos Space, getting rid of Gamma, and this will of course search the black. We then banish the Gamma, summon the black, and link the black into Striker. Now, depending on your hand, you would chain block this in a different way. So if you didn't have Speed Burst Dragon, because obviously we know that if we can get to Speed Burst Boot Sector Launch, we're going to have plays. So in this instance, we're going to chain block Striker as Chainlink 1, Black as Chainlink 2, because the extender is nice, but not necessary. Boot sector launch is obviously much more important in this specific hand because we're going to have access to rockets. If we didn't have access to rockets and we just needed the extender was more important, we would of course go black as 1, striker as 2. But because we've got Speedburst Dragon, we're going to go striker as 1, black as 2. Black will search white, and striker will search the boot sector launch. Alright, so now we're going to banish the black to summon the white, and we'll do Chaos Space now. We'll put back black, and we will draw a card, which of course is just the dead driver. It doesn't matter, so this is of course just any one draw from your deck at this point. Now we can link these off for Hieratic Seal. The white will activate to search the black. And this is where we get to do the really cool play of tributing over Seal for Speedburst Dragon. The Seal will activate its effect. It's going to grab Tracer and Magna Rocket. I find that usually, depending on, again, what your hand would look like, getting a level 4 is pretty important, especially, and one that can pop itself. So either Magna or Silver, but we'd rather save the Silver for the end phase. So Magna's the best target here. Depending on your hand, often you might want to go through one of the smaller rockets here, depending, because the levels don't typically matter. In this combo they will. But yeah, oh, sorry, with our chain links, I forgot to trigger. I triggered Speedburst, didn't trigger Seal. So we would go 1 Speedburst, 2 Seal. Getting the 2 rockets again is pretty important because we've already got boot sector launch. The Seal, getting the Seal effect is really nice, but we'd rather chain block it that way. We're going to summon the Dualwiel Dragon. So summoning it off of Seal is one of the ways we can get Dualwiel onto the field. The only other way really is through Dragon Ravine and Pisty bring it back, which is what you would do. So if you don't open Speedburst Dragon and this combo, Pisty bringing back Dualwiel after sending it with Ravine is the other way of getting it onto the field. But what we're going to do now is we'll activate the boot sector launch and we'll put our 2 bodies onto the field. And here, and this is what I like about this combo, is we're going to go into the Savage now. Now I'm not a Dragon Link player typically. This is not a deck that I play all the time. So I'm sure there's probably people watching going, no, that's not the way you should do it. But this gets us a Savage early in the combo, which is really nice before we've really done too much. Now we can tribute the Dualwiel and bring back our 2 materials for nothing, really, it feels like. Now we can banish the Dualwiel and search out our rapid trigger. All right, from here, we can start to consolidate our resources a little bit more. So we'll keep the Tracer on field. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm just trying to remember how I did this in the past. We're going to go Magna and Speedburst. And again, there might be people going, no, don't do it this way, but that's okay. We're going to summon Quad Barrel up in the extra monster zone. And then we are going to activate Tracer's effect. Tracer's going to... We'll pop the Hieratic Seal. Summon another one. Now this is where I would typically bring out one of the lower level ones. So we can bring out something like the Anis Rocket, or if we know what the matchup is, we know which one's not going to be needed between it and Auto Rocket. Bring that out, but we want one that can be popped because we're going to be going Rapid Trigger, popping Anis Rocket and Magna Rocket in a little bit. But now we're going to link these 2 away into our Delindrus. And we're going to go Quad Barrel, target Delindris to pop. Obviously we have to discard a card. Now just to show that we've got our 3 other cards, we can just discard the black. The Delindris will get popped, and 2 more will get summoned. So we'll get our Anis Rokket, Magna Rokket, and then because Rokket was summoned, Delindris can summon out next. We can link these. Delindris will get banished, and Quad Borrow into Abomination. And now we can fire off Rapid Trigger, popping our Magna Rokket and our Anis Rokket Dragon to summon Furious. And this is where we can go into the end phase and we can start activating our effects. So in the end phase, we're going to have Unchained Abomination as an effect that we can activate, but we've also got Anis Rokket and Magna Rokket. So we'll start with the 2 Rockets because we're going to use Abomination last to pop Silver Rokket. So off the Anis Rokket, we'll summon Magna. Off the Magna Rokket, we'll summon Silver. Then we're going to get the end phase effect of Abomination. Abomination is going to destroy Silver. We get to look at our opponent's extra deck, take a card out. Obviously now we know what they're playing and we can structure our negates accordingly based on our 1 negate and our pop. We can structure them accordingly based on what we know our opponent's playing. And then we can go Silver effect in the end phase and summon out our Tracer. Now in this variant, or this combo specifically, Tracer is really important here because Tracer will give us access to use Abomination. If it was Borrow Load, obviously Borrow Load can just freely activate its effect to target, but in this case we're going to use Tracer to pop itself, which will then trigger Abomination in the next chain. So what we can do here is, going into our opponent's turn, once we have something on field that we want to get rid of with Magna Rokket, or it could be another Rokket, if it could be, because we've gone through Anis Rokket here, if we know it's going to be a spell trap that we want to get rid of, we're going to use Tracer targeting itself, popping itself, and summoning out. For example, it could be Auto Rokket. On the next chain, Abomination will activate because a card in the field was destroyed by a card effect. We can then target a card in the field and destroy it. And so now we can target either of these and get their effects. And then of course we've got Furious and Savage. We can use Furious to pop the other Rokket. They will both get their end phase effects to search, or to special summon, because they were destroyed. But yeah, that's going to be the test hand, the combo, and I will do just 1 quick test hand. All right, so we are shuffling up for our test hand, and we'll see what we get. Now, if we get something similar to the combo I just showed, we won't play that one out because we kind of know what it's going to do. But we've got Ravine, Black, Tracer, Speedburst Dragon, and Gamma. Okay, so well, this is actually going to be pretty much exactly what we've just seen, because it would be Ravine, which we don't need in the combo typically. Discard Gamma. Now, we wouldn't typically want to discard a Gamma normally, but just for this we will. We can send anything off Ravine. Now, because we know we don't go through Absorata in the combo, we can just dump an Absorata here. Absorata will get its effect to search, and what we will search the Caliber. Now the Caliber can be a follow-up later on. This could also be Rokket Synchron for turn 3 if we wanted to, but Caliber can be summoned. And then we can summon Black by banishing the Gamma. And from here, it's just going to be the exact same thing as the combo that I just showed, because we will use Black to climb up into Hieratic Seal, tribute for Speed Burst, and we're off to the races from there. What we could do with this hand in particular is, when we get to the point where we have Quad Borrow, who's just popped Delindris, so we've got Quad Borrow, Delindris, 2 Rockets and a Savage, we can summon the Caliber here and turn all of these into a Borrow Load Dragon, which is nice. So there's our extra extender. So 1 extender on the end board gets you to Borrow Load, and I think, personally, I prefer Borrow Load over Abomination. Abomination potentially can do a little bit more, but Borreload is just a little bit more proactive. All right, we have Guard Dragon, Quick Launch, Rapid Trigger, Auto Rokket Dragon, and Absorata Dragon. Okay. So this is a little bit different. Obviously this has no access to Speed Burst Dragon, so we're gonna have to play just some more ordinary Dragon Link things here. We can start with Quick Launch, summon out Tracer, and this is probably where I'm gonna show my inexperience with the deck. We can special summon the Absorata now. We can link Tracer for Striker, and Striker will search a boot. We can link for 2 into the Romulus and activate Romulus and Router. So we'll go 1 Romulus, 2 Router because we do have access to rockets already. Off the Router, you can search a Magna. And Romulus grabbing the Ravine. Now opening the Rapid Trigger is unfortunate because obviously it's a card that we can freely search later, but it is what it is. All right, what we'll do here is we'll Ravine and we'll discard 1 of the rockets, and we're going to send to the graveyard the Dualwiel. Now this would be obviously a lot better if we didn't already open the Rapid Trigger, but again it is what it is. All right, from here we can activate Boot. We'll use Boot to summon out Magna, and I don't think we're going to, oh no, actually we've got Guard Dragon. So we'll go Magna plus Romulus under Seal. I think this will be fine. We should be able to play under Seal, I think. And we can activate World Legacy Guard Dragon. World Legacy Guard Dragon can pull back Tracer, and Tracer can pop the launch to summon out. We can already quad borrow back 2 targets, so we can bring out the Recharger here if we want to. We can link a Recharger into the Pisty. We can Guard Dragon move the Pisty. Pisty summon out Dualwiel. And now we'll tribute Dualwiel to summon back 2 rockets. So we can go for Magna and Auto. Obviously we can't banish it here, which is unfortunate, but it's all right. All right, now from here, we do have a quad borrow Delindrus play, but we don't have a Savage play at the moment, and Savage would be really good to have. We'll just play this out as rockets just because we're playing rockets. Oh, actually no, we don't have a quad borrow play because we have opened the trigger. So what we will do with this is we will make Savage. These. So again, this is where opening a card that's searchable is problematic because it takes one less card away from discard, so we can't use the quad borrow now in this instant. But what we can just do now is use the rapid trigger, popping the Pisty and the auto rocket to summon Furious. We will get the end phase effect of the auto rocket, and that can just summon out something. We're not going to be able to benefit off its regular effects, but we can just use this as fodder for Furious if we need to. But that's going to be the end board of this test hand. So obviously got our Savage with 2 negations. We've got our Furious to pop and our Seal to bounce. But that's going to be this Rokket Dragon Link deck profile for when Burst of Destiny comes out. And I hope you enjoy it.